back to the 100k Sunday roast on this special edition Easter Monday. Joining me, the other part of the 100k, Darcy Ballard. Dove, how are you, mate?
Jev, I could not be better. And I think I've said this the last couple of weeks. I couldn't be better. But the Blues are flying. We're heading upwards. Geez, we're playing well. We played really well on the weekend, Jev. What about you? Have you had a good weekend, my friend?
It's been a long weekend. I went to the footy yesterday, ready for the Swans. We'll get to this later, but to win by about 10 goals. Oh, I'm in some trouble this week. I am in some trouble. I've got some stuff to say about that game when we get to it. You cannot miss what I've got to say in about probably 25 minutes from now. But fucking hell, that was an experience yesterday. We are recording this before Hawks Geelong. That game still got to be played today. We'll get back on at the end of the show to go through that game. But let's go all the way back to Thursday night. Brisbane, Collingwood, Darce. The Pies win, what was it, 20 points, 92 to 72. The Pies get their season rolling. Talk to me about this game.
Yeah, so Bobby Hill kicked the first, Jev, at 16-1, and he also kicked 3 in the first quarter, which I had him for 11.23 for 3 goals. So that saluted early.
That's good.
He was paying $26 for 4, but he couldn't get on the scoreboard after that, unfortunately. Brisbane were up at halftime by 5 points, Jev. And they looked to be really good after Collingwood didn't even score in the second quarter. But then the Pies really opened them up in the third and fourth quarters. And it just, like, they seem to run away with it. They look like the more hungry side. I've got some takeaways that I will get through after this. But, yeah, I was really looking forward to this game. I thought it would have been a little bit closer towards the end. But Brisbane could not fire a shot in the second half. What do you say?
Yeah. I've been harsh on the Pies, and I think it's been fair. Like, they've done nothing well so far. But if I'm a Pies supporter watching that game, you're just like, there it is. There's the team I know we are. They lifted their intensity again. It looked like it fucking meant something to them to not go 0-4, and like, they were playing with intensity. They were putting pressure on. They got their game plan going. They got their ball movement going. Their superstars are still a bit iffy. Like, De Goey still isn't playing great footy. He did get rolling a little bit, but he still hasn't been amazing. But you're just like, there we are. That's the team I know we are. Yeah, what did De Goey have? He only had 18 touches. 18. Had a bit more impact. They were getting it to him in the corridor a bit more. But if you're a Pies supporter, you're like, all right, it's going to be hard to make the 4 from starting 0-3. But if we are who we say we are, like, the season starts now. Don't worry about the first 3 weeks. Like, let's get rolling. So they'd be happy. But then the Lions on the other hand, I don't care what they come out and say about this Brisbane, this Vegas trip and this America trip and how it isn't affecting them. It 100% is. There's something deeper to this because they are playing like dog shit. For the talent they put on the park, it's just not good enough. And I don't know if it jumped out to you on the screen, but it was giving me the shits. It looks like at the Lions, it's like, righto, we've got Joe Dano, he's a good forward. We've got Eric Hippold, he's a good forward. We've got Charlie Cameron, he's a good forward. Lincoln McCarthy's good at playing in the forward like this and that and blah, blah, blah. And then they all just jump at the same fucking footy the whole time. They just kick it to the hot spot and all of them try and make a play at the same time. It doesn't look like they've got any synergy going into that forward line. Whereas you say Carlton, for example, as you're a Carlton supporter, you sort of know it's always coming to Harry or Charlie, and then the other guys work towards that because they know their role players around Harry and Charlie's feet. And then as soon as they see there's 2 on Harry or Charlie, then Orazio and Fantasia standing wide open or always, and then they kick it to them, and it's like they know the avenues to goal they're going to take. And if Harry's got 2 in him, they'll go to someone else. When Cripps goes down there, they kick it to him and Harry leads to dummy spots. Brisbane just looks like kick it to the hot spot and lets all our talent fly at the ball. It was giving me the shits watching. If I'm a Lions supporter, I've probably had the shits watching. So, yeah. Darcy, what were your 3 takeaways from this game?
Yeah, so the takeaways, we mentioned this last week, Jev, but Nick Dacos, he looked back to his best off the half back line. And in his first 3 games, I went to have a look where his touches were coming from. So against the Giants, 35% of his touches were coming in the defensive part of the ground, which is so small. 64 against the Swans, 69% of the touches against the Saints. And on the weekend, 79% of his touches were in the D half of the ground, which you can really see he actually started to unload and looked a lot better. That's where the best Nick Dacos is, I think, when he's hitting off the back line. Number 2, Lachie Neale, even though despite the loss, he could not have done much more. 35 disposals, 20 contested possessions, 10 clearances, and a goal. That is what you want from your two-time Brownlow medals. And you look at a lot of their midfielders, Jev. Zorko had 30, McCluggage had 28 and a goal, Dunkley had 26. They still play pretty well, which brings me to my third point. You can put 90% of the blame for all of Brisbane's losses, as you did mention before, on their forwards. They are not doing the job. Yeah. Charlie Cameron has not come to the party this year.
Fumbling.
He should have buried the Blues. He kicked 2 goals 3 when they were up. He kicked 2 points against Freo and 1 goal 3 against Collingwood. Not only that, Joe Danaher only had 8 touches and a goal, and Hipwood only had 8 touches. You can put 90% of why they are losing on their forwards because they are not doing their job.
Yeah. Yeah, 100. You can see it. It's just not working right now. And it's standing out like dog balls that it's just not working at the moment. Fuck, Lachie Neale was good. Just one of those games you're watching and you're like, he's just putting the team on his shoulders here. Like, he was fucking good. I agree with Nick Dacos. I am harsh on him and I cop it for it. But he looks better when Collingwood have already won the ball and then they're getting it to him. Not if he's in the cold face of the midfield and he's trying to win his own ball or he's trying to get it outside at a tight contested stoppage. I think he's still, as we say, he's fucking incredible. But the best Nick Dacos is when Collingwood's won the ball and then he's at full pace on his bike, handball receives, using his kicking skills. So maybe we'll see a bit more of him half back. He'll come back to the midfield when they get a bit more wins on the board and get flying again. But, it's good to see Collingwood back again. Brisbane are fucking average. Have you got some odds for me? I know, I'll just quickly say, I had, before the game, I remembered Kitty Coleman and the other halfback were injured, the Irish bloke, Conor McKenna. So I went Dane Zerko 30 at $10.50, 35 at 40 to 1, and he got 30 at $10.50. I only had 5 on it, but $50 was $50. You got some more odds for me, Das?
Yes, when I screenshotted that one, Jev, I had Zorko. He was at $11 then. So $11 for 30 disposals. Lachie Neale for 35 was at $8. Jamie Elliott for 15 touches was $3.35.
That's nice.
And was $15 for 4 goals, which is a lot. The elite medium, Jamie Elliott, Brody Mychek was $4.40 for 3 goals, and Beau McCreary was $8 for 2 goals, Jev. So those were the best markets. All the other touches were a little bit shorter, but Collingwood finally got their win under their belt, and Brisbane are licking their wounds, and they've got North Melbourne this week, who you think that they'd want to touch up at Gather Round, because if not, there is going to be some serious alarm bells.
North Melbourne could get some serious treatment this week if Brisbane are serious. All of a sudden they get that forward line right, and then Danaher kicks 4. Hipwood's a cat. No, we shouldn't say that. Next game, Das. I know why Jesus died on Good Friday now, so he didn't have to watch North Melbourne play. North Melbourne versus Carlton. The Blues win by 56 points under the lid. Good Friday, the annual ass kick, and it's the second of the year. You were there. You drank a shitload of piss because every time Charlie and whoever kicked a goal, you were drinking them. You go first, Das.
Yeah, so Blues, Jev, comfortably 56 points. Zerha kicked the first at 17 to 1. The Blues absolutely dominated this game. The talent just isn't there for North Melbourne yet to run out a full 120 minutes, especially with a side that's pushing for a top 4 spot, and they've had 14 days off. North only had 6 days off. And, if there's a game that you don't want a top 4 side potentially for an ass kicking under perfect conditions, if you look at our 4 quarters, we kicked 5 goals, 6 goals, and 5 goals, which is 21 for the game. We had 137 points on the board, which is so many. But being there, it looked like a bit of a training drill at the start. You could just definitely tell. I don't think we played our best by any stretch of the imagination. You were trying to, you could almost try and go for a few extra kicks. They were a little bit riskier because you knew that they weren't really going to hit you over the other side.
Yeah.
But look, you know what I mean? I was impressed with how we played, but it definitely wasn't super tight. A little bit looser on defense sometimes because they still kicked 70, how many points they kicked? 81 points. So, you know what I mean? So he definitely could have been a little bit tighter. Great to have Jacob Wiedering back in the side.
He
which
looked
was
solid,
great.
didn't he?
Yeah, even though he still kicked a couple, but just going back, he's so much better than Lewis Young.
Did Lewis Young play?
No, he didn't. He didn't.
I didn't think he did. He has to be the biggest brick shithouse in the AFL, Jacob Wiedering. He is a fucking brick shithouse. Him and Tom Hawkins are just two brick shithouses. He's built well.
Yeah.
Oh, God, in this game, North Melbourne were making some turnovers where you're just like, oh, God. And then 4 Carlton mids are running out the front of the stoppage, flicking it around like you. And like Aiden Core was standing on the mark, just like looking up the field like, what am I supposed to do, boys? Like, chop me out sort of thing. Yeah, you feel for North, but Carlton were good. Carlton were really good. When Charlie and Harry get on fire like that under lid, this has to be the most excited you've been for Harry Mackay in a long time. He looks confident. He looks on fire.
100%. So that's what I was going to get into. Just my 3 little takeaways for this one, Jev. Now that Harry's kicking the ball straight, I think it's safe to say that most people would have to agree with that this could be the best twin tower combo since Buddy and Ruffy. Both have one of Coleman. Both, the way that Harry's getting up the ground, juking everything, kicked another 5 on the weekend, kicking the ball with confidence, and it literally just puts a smile on your face.
Yeah.
But then just think about the headache as a competition. You're like, all right, so we've got Harry there, and then and now we've got to go to Charlie. Like, if they're both firing, it's scary. It really is. Number 2, Elijah Hollands, welcome. I was so impressed with how this kid played the game. 22 touches. We've got the double Dutch rudder now, the double Holland. We've got Elijah and Ollie, so the double Dutch. 22 touches, 8 score involvements and a snag. I think he's going to be great for us. And number 3, I will give this one to the North fans, but you have an absolute Rolls Royce, and that's Luke Davies-Uniacke. This kid glides across the turf, and I actually can't wait for North actually get a few more blokes to go with him because, Jev, he's a serious talent. And like watching him, he broke one through the middle and he was just looking over his shoulder. I can't remember who was chasing after him, and he just showed him the cleats. He's so good, Luke Davies-Uniacke. I feel bad for him. I feel he's almost being wasted, but we were just far too good. We're a better talented side. But Luke Davies-Uniacke, he can hold his head high because he's a dead set gun, Jev.
Like we said about Zach Merritt last week against the Swans, like he just looked that much better than the rest of Essendon. And he looked like 3 preseasons ahead of all of Essendon and like tiers and tiers ahead of him. Luke Davies-Uniacke just jumped off the screen how far ahead he looked at the rest of North Melbourne's list. Like he looked that good on TV. He's a star, smooth mover, big, strong. He's a good player. Yeah, he was good to watch. The Blues are flying. Pat Cripps is flying. Tom DeConning's flying. And it's shaping up to be a massive game at Adelaide Oval this week that we will be at. Blues Freo, the battle of the undefeated, isn't it?
Yeah, it's going to be fun. He put my hand up, say I was wrong. Didn't think that Freo were just going to be any good. I really didn't. We'll get into their game next, but the Blues just... Yeah, it's going to be really exciting. We've never won at Adelaide Oval. Doesn't matter if it's against Port, Adelaide, or someone else. We've never won there. So I'm a bit scared. So if we lose...
That's funny.
Yeah, look, we've never won. We've never won there. But some odds for the weekend, Jev. Harry Mackay for 5 was at 590. Charlie for 4 goals is so short, 225.
It's unbelievable.
Matt Owens for 3 was 380. Paul Curtis for 3, Jev, was 1150. And Eddie the Lamb Chops Ford for 2 snags. There was no market.
Oh, really?
No market for Lamb Chop because I'm pretty sure it was a sub. All big disposal winners were all about $1.90, so nothing really jumps off the page there. It was all the goal kickers, but yeah, North Melbourne, I think they're in for a rough season, and just keep stacking wins because that was really exciting. Very exciting to be a Blues supporter.
Yeah, they've got that... They're playing. They don't give a shit what the opponent is. They play their way, like they're going to be playing in a prelim, and just North just happen to be on the end of an ass kicking. So Blues are flying. Next game to us, another Good Friday game. The most disappointing team in the fucking league right now, weak as water. The Freo Dockers beat the Adelaide Crows by 35 points. The final score was 69-34. Das. Before we get too much into this, how many goals did the Blues kick on Good Friday against North Melbourne?
We kicked 21-11.
21 goals in a game. Right. That's a good game. Like, played well. Team wasn't that good. You've kicked 21 goals in a game. The Adelaide Crows have kicked 23 goals for the season, Dars. They kicked 4 goals in a game of fucking footy. It's embarrassing. I'm going to get more into this later, but you go first. So the Dockers win by 35 points. I know you didn't see a heap of this game because you were celebrating a good victory, but talk to me.
Was I ever? Ben Keys kicked the first, Jev, at $26, and that's about it for a team that was the highest scoring team in the AFL last year. And this can't all be down to the fact that the thrill seeker isn't playing, Jev, Riley Thilthorpe, but how can't they get score on the board? Like, I know you always say, what was this team doing in the off season? What were they doing in the preseason? But I genuinely want to know what the fuck they were doing. Michael Walters has turned back the clock a little bit, Jev. Kicked 2 goals, 4. Jai Miss has just been can't miss, even though he kicked 2 goals too. But Hayden Young, Jev, we put him on our radar, both of us, as a dark horse All-Australian. He had 32 disposals, highest ranked player on the ground, which is 129. Sarong went with him. The midfield keeps going with him at Freo. They seem to beat you up and then just put on the board 69-34 from everything I've read, and I only watched the highlights. Apparently it was one of the worst games to watch ever. And most people are like, just don't even worry about this game. Just put the cue in the rack. It happened, but don't ever go back and watch it, but it happened.
Yeah. So there's a couple of things. I'll start with the positives of Freo. So all of the off-season, they were talking about how they were hitting PBs in running and PBs in the weight room. And they had it was 30 out of the 40 players came back and hit personal bests whether it was 2K time trial running. And it's like, that's all they say in preseason. If every single player gets a little better individually and then they get better as a team, how quickly it can turn from a loss to a win. So then all of a sudden, where you definitely weren't as bullish on Freo in the offseason, I didn't mind them. But now it's like, while they're on fire, Luke Jackson's an A-grader, Andrew Brayshaw's an A-grader, Caleb Sarong's an A-grader, Hayden Young's touch an A-grader, and they've all improved that little bit, sort of like St Kilda did last year. Every player improved that little bit, and now they look like a good team out there, and they're going to win footy games. So I'm super happy for Freo. They're flying 3-0, come up against the Blues, who are 3-0 next week. That's good. Now Adelaide. Oh, what a fucking disappointment. And if only someone could have seen this in the offseason, like myself. So they spend all their money on fucking the forward line and all their draft stock. They've got Isaac Rankin, pick 2 of the draft. Tex Walker, All-Australian last year. Thilthorpe didn't play, but pick 2 of the draft. They've got, who else they got down there? More top 10 fucking draft picks. And then they kick 4 goals for a game. 4 goals for a game. Their midfield gets it, doesn't do a lot with it. They're just not that good. They are lacking in A-grade, and then their defense isn't good. I saw this come from my way. I was so sick of hearing last year we're the highest scoring team in the league. We're a bad umpiring decision away from winning the flag. No, you weren't. You weren't that good last year. You just did, you had good moments and you always came back, but you were always coming back into games. And now you just dog's ass. I'd be so angry if I was a Crows fan. They are just so average right now. Bang on average. What did they do in the preseason?
Yeah, I don't know. And look, to make it even worse, Wayne Miller, Jev, has done his ACL and he's out for the season. So just when
that sucks.
Yeah, just when you struggle, Luke Pedler was subbed out injured, and Lockie Murphy was also, I think, brought out of the game as well with only 4 touches. So, mate, they've got a lot of soul searching to do. They've got to bring some guys in from the twos. I don't think it gets any easier for them next week. Who the fuck do they have next week? They've got Melbourne on Thursday night, so they're going to get absolutely steamrolled, you'd think. Melbourne, I think they've got the best away record or at Adelaide Oval. They just don't lose there.
They were
so they've stayed there the week. They haven't come home, so they've just stayed in Adelaide. They've got them on Thursday night, and then they'll probably just catch the red eye straight back home. But the only market in this game, Jeff, because as you did mention, what was it? It was 69-34. There was minimal touches. The only good market that you would have made money on was Hayden Young 30 touches, which was $7.25.
That's nice.
Everything else is Sarong was 28, so for 25 he's in the dollars. Everything, no one kicked over 2 goals. It was literally the worst multi-game ever to bet on, unless if you took everyone's under. So Hayden Young, 30 disposals, knocking on All-Australian contention potentially. Shit game, it happened, but we move on.
Move on. Fuck the Crows. They kicked a goal 9 minutes into the third quarter after halftime and then didn't kick a goal for the rest of the game. From 9 minutes, you saw right at the end, the clock was ticking down with a minute to go, and it said last time Adelaide kicked a goal, it was 45 minutes of game time they didn't kick a goal for in the second half. It's like,
weak.
I know Freo have a good defense, and they build around defense. They did it last year, but what are they doing down in Adelaide? They're gonna lose this week to Melbourne, and they're gonna be zipping 4. And then what's gonna happen? What is gonna happen? I'm not touching Freo for any Adelaide for any multi-legs with a 10-foot pole for a while. They're that disappointing. We've had Tex for 2 a couple of times, Rankin for 2. They don't look like kicking a goal. Next game, with what could be game of the round, was an absolute ripper. Essendon beat the Saints by 4 point stars. This game was awesome to watch under the lid. The Bombers supporters were super loud. Talk to me.
Yeah, so the Bombers did win, Jev, as you mentioned, by 4 points. Jack Higgins kicked the first at $10.50, which is short for a first goal scorer, but he does kick them. I thought, apart from the horrendous kicking at the start, because there was some horrendous kicking, I really did enjoy this game. I thought it was tough and a very good gritty win by the Bombers. They were down by 2 goals deep in the last quarter, especially when goals were really hard to come by. The package kicked a snap around his corner and then fucking absolutely put one through from 50 metres on the boundary. And when that siren went, that's as loud as a crowd as I can remember. I was at the Carlton-Melbourne game when we won, so I didn't really, the replay of that sounds loud. When that siren went at Marvel, that was fucking loud. The Bombers fans showed out. They could obviously hear everything that the media is saying about them. They're no good, and they really do rally around their troops. Yeah, that was a really good game. I've got some takeaways to go through after, but Jev, what was your most exciting bit of the game?
I just remember saying last week after the Swans game, I wasn't as harsh on the Bombers because I thought they were good against the Swans, and I said it would be a really good game for the Bombers to watch on tape of what the Swans did well and where they let themselves down in red zone, and they'll watch it on tape and then they'll apply it, because let's be honest, the Saints are just the Swans from Wish, whereas we've got the ball movement, the Saints are just trying to be the Swans ball movement. So you come up against the GOAT and then you get the Wish version of the GOATs, and that's the Saints under the lid at Marvel. We've watched the tape, the Saints are just going to try and do what the Swans did, and then the Bombers just learn what they got wrong last week. They got it right this week. They were tough again in the contest. They played tough, and they ended up running over the top of the Saints. So it was, it was a great. It was, if you're a Bombers fan, you're pumped with that. You get, you're 2-1 now. You've beaten who Saints supporters say they're going to be a top 4 side. Everyone knows they're not, but you're on fire now.
Yeah, exactly. You just got to start, especially if you can win some of these 50-50 games. And these guys were underdogs as well. Underdogs are absolutely cashing at the moment, Jeb. But 3 things I definitely took away from it. Zach Merritt is one of the premier players in the comp. Started slow, had 12 disposals and 3 big clearances in the last quarter, and finished off with 30 disposals. So he is definitely, and especially what you said last week against the Swans, when you watch him against your own side, you watched how much he stepped up in that last quarter. For the second thing, the Bombers forwards did it without 2 metre. So you had Stringer kick 3, Langford kick 3, and Harry Jones kick 2 against a really good ball. Everyone says the way that we look at the way that Ross Lyon's defense sets up, there was a lot of holes in there. So the bigs were able to get on top and make the most of their opportunities. But number 3, Jev, we said this when the Saints versed the Cats, inaccuracy will lose you fucking games. And the Saints were all over them for majority of that game. I think most Bombers fans watching that game, I don't think they played that well, but they just hung in there. And then if the Saints missed 2 or 3 goals and the Bombers would get at the other end, then they would make the most of their opportunity. So, again, it's let them down. Obviously, no 2 metre for Essendon, but you just think with Max King in this game would have made a big difference. But Tim Membry definitely didn't have his best game, Jev. He dropped a couple marks. I don't think he kicked a goal in the end. And, just really disappointed. I think Saints fans would have chalked that one up early, thought they'd move on to the next one. But it's going to be a close competition this year, Jev, so very, very tough.
If you're a little bit off here, I've got 3 takeaways. The Saints need to do the James Sicily, Jack Frost little experiment where James Sicily wears long sleeves, Jack Frost wears short sleeves because they look similar, And then the young Hawks know not to give Jack Frost the ball and just give it to Sicily because he's a good kick. Riley Bonner and Nasai Wanganeen-Malira, one of them needs to wear long sleeves so the ball doesn't get in Riley Bonner's hands. Watching the game, I actually thought he was okay, Dust. I'm probably being a bit harsh here. He had 32, but he had 17 turnovers, and Wanganeen-Malira just scraped to 20 touches. Yeah, they were putting a bit of work into him, which I thought they might, but he needs the ball more. He needs to get the ball in his hands more. There was a couple of times he was open. They wouldn't get him the ball. So it could be his first and last week in the pyramid, Dust. Pyramid's ruthless. I was sick of hearing Saints supporters. I was sick of hearing, all right, how do we say this? I was getting messages from Saints supporters saying, top 4 lock, Nas, King, Sinclair, Wilkie, all in the pyramid. They think they've got 4 of the top 21 players in the league in the St Kilda side. Top 4 lock. They're not that good. Just be happy with making the 8, St Kilda fans. If you make the 8 and you lose first final to GWS again on the G, which you probably will, just be happy with it because you're not making top 4. I'm sorry. I don't want to be an arsehole to the Saints. You're not that good. You're good. You're not that fucking good. For fuck's sake. Anyway. Yeah, they need to put Nasai Wanganeen-Malira in long sleeves. They're not that good. And I'm happy for the Bombers. I want to be tough on the Bombers, but you can see the improvement. You can see it all over the play. It's just whether they can do it. Ray Romano, Nick Martin had how many touches? 44. I was getting messages saying he has to be in the pyramid. I thought it was a good 44. I don't think he's a top 21 player in the league, but I should have a spot for the hottest half back in the league every week. And if Nasai's out, there's always a hot halfback, coming in. It could be Dan Houston. Nick Blakey's been on fire. Maybe that spot can go to Nick Martin. So I will keep that in mind. Give me some odds, Das.
Yeah, so Langford for 3 goals was $2.60. Stringer for 3 goals was $3.50. Jack Higgins for 3 was $3.20. Caminidis for 2 goals was $3. And you couldn't even get on Harry Jones, so he must have been a late in. So he kicked 2 goals, so I'm not sure about that. The obviously big one, Nick Martin, Jev, for 40 disposals, finished with 44. That was $19. Riley Bonner, 32 disposals. He had 17 turnovers, Jev, but it doesn't matter. $7.50 for 30 disposals. And Dyson Heppel was $12 for 30. So wow. I thought he wasn't kicking the ball that well early, and he finished with 30. And then I went back and rewatched the last quarter. The second half. And yeah, he definitely was a much improved player apart from that first half of the game. But hey, good win by the Bombers, and it just rolls through. So who do they have next week? They got Port. That's a big game. Remember, they only just lost there last year.
Yeah, so that'll be a big game. That'll be a good game.
This is where footy becomes really exciting because matchups. As soon as one team wins one, someone lose one, they become really important. So I know it's a long season, it's 24 games, but in NFL, every win and every loss feels like the end of the world or like the making of saying awesome. And it's just like, just win. Everything else takes care of itself. Like, big when a team wins and then another team loses, like we're getting into here. Port Adelaide versus Melbourne. This game was just awesome for a Saturday night. It was just awesome. The D's end up winners by 7 points. Dope, talk to me. Yeah, Darcy Byrne-Jones kicked the first goal at $18. I was really looking forward to this game, Jev, and it definitely didn't disappoint. In the end, similar to what the Saints were, Jev, inaccuracy is going to lose you games. You look at pretty much all the stats, like it was contested possessions, clearances, time inside forward 50. Port were all over them, and they just could not kick goals. Some stupid decisions. Asava Radigalea just deciding to mark it behind the goal line, like just little things like that. It's just, and it all came home to roost in that last quarter. They were trying. Butters and Rosie was still really trying at the clearance to try and get as much going as they could. But what a tough win. When you hear a team sing the song at the end of the game, I feel it tells you a lot about what the team's going through. The Bombers really belted out. Melbourne sound like that they won a final when they won this game. So very enjoyable. Port, again, they'll be kicking themselves. You've got to stack these wins. If you get a chance to verse them at home, like you want to make the most of it. They versed West Coast, and then they versed, who else they versed? West Coast and Richmond. So the first really big opponent, you'd think. And yeah, the D's just ran all over him in the end. Max Gawn is a fucking freak.
This game, as you said, this felt like a final. Just watching it, it had a bit of a really set up defensively, feel the other team out, like contested, like Butters and Rosie and Wines going head-to-head with Viney, Petrarca, Oliver. like take your chances when they're there. There's not many coming. A lot of stoppages on wings. A lot of, get it out of your back line, get it to a stoppage, reset the ground. Felt a heap like a final, and it just felt like Melbourne just got it right when they had to, and they took their moments a bit better. Port were good. Zach Butters was awesome again, as he always is. Rosie was good. They missed Stephen May, definitely. Lever was okay. But, a couple of moments. Ben Brown's 3, Max Gawn's goal on 3/4 time, Bailey Fritsch making the most of his opportunities, where you can always remember Port's misses, but all Melbourne's goals were just
Jack Viney kicking the most
big goals,
Jack
go
Viney
back
goal.
and kick them.
Jack Viney kicking his goal.
Yeah.
How he ran through, went on it's just, they just put that when they had to, all their players stood up. Alex Nilborn, Jev, you could argue, played a career game, 24 disposals and 2. Homecoming. He's from Adelaide, and he's got Adelaide this week as well. So he has to be in some sort of same game multi.
Oh, he was fantastic, wasn't he? He will be at home having some homemade food from mum and just enjoying the fruits, back in his old single bed, having a good sleep. But he was on fire. Yeah, 24 touches, 2 goals. I really like Melbourne. Because he kicked his one as usual. I really like Melbourne. They're copping it fucking from pillar to post from the media. But they were down by, what was it at 3/4 time? It was about 10 points. Then Gawn kicks that goal and they just claw their way back and they just get the moments in the last quarter right. And then, it just meant so much to them. They were just awesome. Clary was awesome. Petrarca was good. Max Gawn was awesome. Yeah, Viney. Their defense got it right, Tomlinson, Petty and stuff. So, I'm happy for them. Well-coached game. They just did what they had to do to get the win, and you could see what it meant to them. So, that was a cool game. Good game of footy.
Yeah. But you can't even, apart from the inaccurate kicking, Port Adelaide played a great game.
Yes.
Yes. Boak played really well. Willem Drew,
he's awesome.
In the last 12 months, he's just come from a Tiger to actually getting his own footy. They're a fucking good team. And when Boak went off, in the last quarter, he was dominating. Burton, Houston, they were kicking goals. They played a really good game. They just couldn't convert on a lot of it. Some of the best odds, Jev, Ben Brown for 3 goals was 7.75, which is nice. Burn Jones for 2, which is 3.20. Tom Sparrow kicked 2 goals, which was 6.25. Alex Neilbullen, he was $6.25 for 2. And $2.65 for 20 disposals. And then Trent Rivers had 25. Jev was paying just under $5 at $4.90. So those are the best odds.
I'll tell you who else, speaking of moments, took his moment. Caleb Windsor for his first goal in AFL footy.
Oh, yeah.
That was an awesome goal. I absolutely love the way that kid moves. Yeah, it felt like a final, whereas both teams played well. Just Melbourne got it right where Port didn't get it right. And that's what happens. And then you take a loss and now you got a hot Bomber side coming to Adelaide at home this week and you're like, here we go. But great Saturday night game, especially if you're having a quiet Saturday night like we were, just lying on the couch watching that game. It was just awesome. That was my favourite game of the weekend. Next game, I didn't see much of this game and I'm glad I didn't. Darcy, if this game was getting played in my backyard, I'd close the blind so I didn't actually see any of it. Dogs beat the Eagles by 76 points. The Eagles score 30, so they score 3 goals, 12 for the game. To the Dogs, 16-10. Yeah, I was going to the MCG myself, so I didn't see heaps of this game, so talk to me about it.
Jack Williams kicked the first, Jev, for the Eagles. No market. Again, no market.
$4.10. Weak as water.
Yeah, very weak. Look, I've only got one takeaway, Jev. West Coast are no good. No goddamn good. 3 goals, 12 in a game of footy. And you just feel watching, where is the improvement going to come? Because a couple of their older guys are going to be out of the league soon. And then, the number one thing that they need, this team needs, 4 priority picks. I'm sorry, but they do. Before Tassie comes in, it's bad. And I hate, when you get to the last quarter, I think Durham was doing the commentary. He's like, oh, look, we really want to see West Coast win this last quarter. And at the end, oh, yeah, they really showed a bit West Coast in the last. They got flogged. 76 points. You've both got the same salary cap. It's one of the only leagues in the world that, you have the one amount and you can't really kick the can down the road so much with long-term contracts that, this is what you got. This is what you got to pay him. 76 points. Harley Reid, I feel so, fuck, you imagine, you see Riley Sanders running around getting clearances. I bet you Harley Reid's just like, fuck, I wish I got to play in this side. Bontempelli kicked 3 goals, Jev. He had 16 disposals. He just decided, hey, in the first quarter, we've won this game. I'm just going to sit forward. It was, it's another game.
He basically played out of the cube, didn't he?
Yeah, it was like, here's a take for you. If he played a 95% forward role, he would be an All-Australian key forward. He could also be an All-Australian key back. Like, I know Gary Lyon was an All-Australian half back and half forward. Like, I think 3 times forward, 2 times back. You could genuinely play this bloke anywhere. He just bodied people twice and just took, I think he kicked all 3 on his left foot snaps, like just about 10 meters out of the cube. He's a freak. Absolute freak. So Bond kicked 3. This game was absolute cheese, Jev.
Didn't Matthew Pavlich do All-Australian centre, back, full-back, midfield, centre, forward, full forward? Pretty sure he got all 5 position on the spine as a key back, as Matty Pavlich, which is awesome. Yeah, West Coast, they're in trouble. I saw on the TV, Das, they were 101-1 before the season to not win a game this year, and now it's like 12-1. It's been fed into 12-1 because everyone's seen them. They're going, oh, who are they beating? Like, they are crap. And like, Jack Darling's on take behind the shed watch and put him down. he's on like the retired gaff already, and Darling's next. And like, there's 2 parts to this. So I reckon we can trust McGovern, Yo, and Cully in the 100K multi-dust. They get the ball. Yo's been awesome the last 2 weeks. He had 29. Yeah. McGovern's had 24 and 26. And Tim Kelly's been good. But if you're relying on Yo and McGovern, like McGovern is old and he looks old. He's just walking around like he gets like 7 corks a game. He's like, for fuck's sake. He'd spend that much time in the ice bath during the week and drinking cans to recover. So, yeah, it's a bit of it's some tough times for West Coast still coming. They need to start playing the kids. There's a kid that was named emergency named Harvey Johnston. I would love to see him play this week. Pick 49 from a very good local feeder. So I'm not going to say where.
Hey, hopefully he gets a game this week and gather around.
I hope so too. When we're there.
He'll be number 24. It was an emergency. Hopefully if West Coast keep playing like this, they're going to have to start playing the kids more. So, yeah, hopefully he gets a game this week and we'll be there to watch it. So, odds, Jev, Bond for 3 snags was 560. Tim English finally got on the scoreboard, Jev. He kicked 2, which was 330. Harvey Gallagher, which was a young forward for the Doggies, kicked 2 snags at $6.25. Jamie Cripps, I don't have a market here for you, but he had 18 touches, 1 goal, 5. So he could have had himself a day. Trelaw had 35 disposals, which was 460. Yo had 29, so for 25 was 240. And Morgs' man, the brambled eggs. We only had him for 15. He had 27 at $4.40.
Morgs was up and about with that. He was real happy.
He was running like he owed someone money. Like, that's how hard this man was going, the brambled eggs. So, yeah, easy win by the Dogs. The Eagles are probably just going to get touched up like the bad redheaded stepson against the Swans after a bit of a bad loss on the weekend, which we're going to touch on right now, Jev. So we're going to go through. I really don't have any notes. I've got Richmond versus Sydney. This is what I wrote down. Tigers win by 5. Mansell kicks the first.
21
that's
to 1.
It.
He paid 21-1. Ryan Mansell
21-1. Ryan, he's a good player, Ryan Mansell. So let me just see what you thought of it. Your expectation before the game. You're excited to go in. Watch the Swans at the G. Not the best record at the G. You've only won 1 game in the last 6 there. What did you see?
Righto, Das. So I wake up Sunday morning. I'm up and about. I'm going to the footy. I'm going to watch the Swans. I'm going to watch the Swans win by about 10 goals and keep this premiership run alive. All right. I go for a run, make myself a nice brekkie, get in early, have a pint of the corner. It's like, how good's today is going to be? I'm putting on same game multis. He'll kick 2. He'll have 30, this and that. I'm up and about. Oh, and you could see straight away, So, credit to the Tigers. I'm going to give credit to the Tigers. They were fucking fantastic. They were awesome. Their tackling and pressure. So, watching the Swans, I'm like, this is ball movement that has been like iron sharpening iron in the preseason that we have got like right. And we have got some nice ball movement. And last week against Essendon, there was a couple of ball movement plays that I was like left shocked that ended on Errol's left, and they were just pinpoint forwards. The Tigers worked their asses off at the ground to put tackling pressure on, to put bodies on, to get hands in the way, to stop the Swans ball movement. And they were just awesome, the Tigers, at it. And it was the no-names. It was the kids I rip at Richmond. It was the Mantles. It was the Dows. It was these guys that were working their ass off and laying these tackles to stop the ball movement. So they I feel like they won the game in their planning for the week and the way they were coached this week. So super happy for Adam Uze and his first win. Tom Lynch Darce, he was fucking awesome. So yep. I know I actually don't, because I haven't rewatched the game. You would have been watching. What happened with his foot where he limped off after he laid a tackle on the boundary line?
Yeah, no, he was like running and he landed awkwardly, stayed out there for a little bit longer and then came straight off. But I agree, like, you just remember how good Tom Lynch really is and how much he means. Like, he was a presence down there. There's a couple of times he took a big mark over where usually McCartan would just get rid of it, and Tom Lynch just took it. Some of the big goals, so he was impressive.
I was sitting in the Swans cheer squad for this game, and like any highlight was all at the one end, and it was at the Swans cheer squad end. So any highlight you saw of Tom Lynch yesterday, he really did it all at just the Swans end. He kicked all his 3 goals or whatever he kicked. And his jukes were so fucking strong. That one you're talking about was right in front of me. He goes up. McCartan gives it a body spoil and punches the ball. And I think Blakey put his body on Lynch as well. And he just mitted it and brought it down. And he looked strong. He looked like his dukes were strong. Taranto was awesome. Shai Bolton loves playing the Swans. He was awesome again. And then it was the old dog premiership players that must have been feeling the pinch of being zipping 2 and zipping 3 they were, and just sort of like, it's not Adam Uze's fault we're zipping 3. It's us guys not stepping up. So like Vlosten had his best game of the season. Lynch had his best game of the season. Tim Taranto had his best game of the season. Shai Bolton was awesome. There was a few more, like Nathan Broad was good. And they were just better than the Swans, and they wanted it more. And I'm super happy for them. Who else was really good for Dan Rioli was awesome. Marlon Pickett did a bit. Liam Baker, the footballer. He was great. He didn't have that good of a first half, but he just got himself into the game. And Marlon Pickett did a bit of a job on Errol, or he was just standing next to him. And they all had their moments. So I am happy for the Tigers. I have ripped them from pillar to post. I copped some messages last night that we will address on the actual 100K pod this week. There were some good messages, but it doesn't mean they're not in football's no man's land, Das. It was like it was their fucking grand final yesterday. For fuck's sake. You should have seen them at Swan Street after the game. They're singing the song. They're packing out the pub. They're fucking carrying on like they just won the last game in September, beating the Swans after round 3 of the season. Yes, they were good, but I'm not that worried. Oh, sorry, I just lost you there, Das. My laptop froze. Anyway, as I was saying, the Swans, they were too cute. We were trying that little extra handball too much, which has been working for us the first couple of weeks. Richmond obviously got to work on stopping it. And then when they stopped that, all of a sudden, Chad, Errol don't have as good a game as they do, and Richmond play their best game of the season. It's just how close the competition is. Lynch plays like that, gives McCartan a bit of a bath, and then the Swans forward line's down, and Papley wasn't as good as he is sometimes. And yeah, any team can beat anyone on their day. So happy for the Tigers. I think they carried on a bit much. And I think this is going to be – I haven't watched John Longmire's press conference yet. I'm going to watch that after this. But I think this is going to give West Coast an absolute ass-kicking next week because there's going to be some stuff on tape that the Swans won't like. And it's going to have to come out next week. And, yeah, there's going to be an ass-kicking. And one of the things – yesterday was the first time – I reckon they missed Callum Mills, Luke Parker, and we haven't seen Taylor Adam play for the Swans yet.
Bit of leadership.
Finally, we've been getting along, and I'm like, oh, how good are the Swans going without these 3 gun midfielders? We're still beating everyone, blah, blah, blah. And it was yesterday, it's like, righto, for us to win the flag and go on this premiership run or whatever we're going to do, go play in prelims, we need them out in the field and we need them good. So competition's even. Richmond were great yesterday. Don't get too excited, please. You got the Saints next week. Fuck, that's the Chromosome Cup, isn't it? That's mean to say, isn't it?
But I just wanted to, with the Tigers, they pushed us as well. So, they actually are, not as bad as I think what you think they are. And, Noah Bolter, so against, as you mentioned, Jev, the Noah Bolter experience is absolutely real. So I think he had 20-something and 3 goals against us. He only had 6 touches on the weekend. No Dustin Martin was playing. But as you did mention, Rioli was awesome. Liam Baker's he's if you're West Coast or Freo, because he hasn't signed yet, has he?
No.
Get him in the building. That's what West Coast need.
The only thing I'd push back on that is he's such an awesome player, but a guy his size that's sort of a positionless player, is he worth a $900,000 a year contract?
I don't know if you get him for a little bit less than 900, but if you've got Jamie Cripps going, who's a forward, who else? Tyler Brockman isn't going to kick those goals, or if you need to put him back, he can put him back. If you want to put him in the midfield, he's a piece you're getting that you can play anywhere.
But to prior him out of Richmond, 5 years, 800 a year, maybe it might have to be. Me personally, I wouldn't pay someone. I think he's an awesome footballer, but I wouldn't poach someone of his size to my side. But anyway, I had one other thing. I don't want to make this a shot at Richmond, but the saying goes, coaching wins games, systems win premiership stars, right? Mm-hmm. So you look at Collingwood, and Collingwood last year, they didn't give a fuck who they're playing and who the other midfields are or whatever. They play the Collingwood way every week, and they got their system that right that it didn't matter who, and they won the flag because they play the Collingwood way, and it ended up working and this and that. But you saw Hawthorn beat Collingwood last year, or some other teams beat Collingwood last year. West Coast, not West Coast. But because that one day in March or in June or in April that you coach all week to stop the Collingwood system and you get it right for that one day, you beat them. So the Swans yesterday, they didn't care what the Tigers were doing. They played the Swans way, and the Tigers were coached to stop the Swans way yesterday. So I'm not that worried, because now that gives us a chance to go, right, this is what teams are going to dish up to us to beat us. And it's let's tweak our game plan to make it so if this happens again, we get better. Whereas now Richmond have to go, righto, what do the Saints do? Well, let's coach all week. They don't have a Richmond system anymore like they did for all those years they won the premiership. It's all about this one week, how do we have to play to beat St Kilda, and it's we're going to stop this guy, we're going to put a man on this guy, we're going to have this guy forward, and we're going to coach just to beat the Saints. Whereas the Swans are going to rock up against West Coast, or if we were playing Port Adelaide, or if we were playing the Blues, and we're playing the Swans way every week from now on. So that's all I want to say. I don't want to be too harsh on them. Richmond were great yesterday. They were fucking awesome. They were physical. They were tough. Yeah.
And they got away with one. No, that's it.
It's just been all me for about 10 minutes.
No, it's good. It's good to air it out. So we've got Hawthorn and Geelong coming up. My April Fool's gag did get a lot of people, Jev. The 100K multi is dead. It is not alive. I wasn't going to do it. Then I saw so many people doing an April Fool's gag, and I thought this is the perfect one. So it's not alive. We've had so many messages from people. Gotcha.
Just going to quickly do some odds for yesterday's game. So Tim Durano had 35. He was paying 7-1 for 35, which is nice. Who else? Voston for 25. God, he was good. $7.25 for 25.
Dan Rioli, 25.
Dan Rioli was $4.50 for 25.
Roberts. Matty Roberts.
How many did he have?
27.
See, he's the one, I do like him, but I'd like that to be Callum Mills sooner rather than later. $5. No, I like him. I think there's a couple other guys like that Caleb Mitchell that debuted. He was $5.60 for 25 darts, which is nice. Did Isaac Heaney get votes again yesterday?
Yeah.
He was fucking awesome at the ground, but I think players were probably better than him, especially guys on the wing team. What about goals? Who kicked them? Lynch kicked 3.
Yep.
$3.50 for 3.
Heaney kicked 2.
I'll go Liam Baker for 2 was $4. He's kicked 3 in 2 his last 2 weeks. He could be in for a sneaky he'll be in for a goal next week. What's his name? Michaelty Lafau or whatever, the guy from St Kilda City.
That'll do it.
I don't know what his name is. $6.75 for 2. He had some good moments yesterday.
He had 3 kicks, 2 goals.
Yeah, he had some moments. And then Swans, who kicked goals for the Swans?
Joel Amadi, I'd be paying fuck all, but Isaac Heaney kicked 2, Jev.
Isaac Heaney for 2 should be paying fuck all as well. $2.15.
Nick Blakey for a snag?
Nick Blakey for 1. He was awesome yesterday.
And Robbie Fox?
No, Nick Blakey. Rob Fox could get $1.85. Errol at $1.44. Chad didn't fucking kick one. Will Hayward was super disappointing yesterday. That's a game he should dominate. He was my guy, like you've been betting. I had a little sprinkle on him for 3, 4, and 5, and he didn't kick one. He was super disappointing in my eyes. So got Easter Monday. You're going to be back on here probably by yourself, maybe with me later. Yep. Go through that game, and that is the roast, the Monday roast us. We're going to gather around this weekend. I can't fucking wait.
Can't wait. Sorry, Lou, this has gone over an hour again, but bad luck, mate.
No, it's only 47 minutes.
Is it? Oh,
yeah,
good.
It's only 47 minutes.
Well done, Lou.
On you, Lou. See you, mate.
Go Hawks.